Volume 1, Book 10, number 559. Narrated by Ibn Umar. Allah's Apostle said, "None of you should try to pray at sunrise or sunset." Volume 1, Book 10, number 560. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. I heard Allah's Apostle saying, "There is no prayer after the morning prayer till the sun rises, and there is no prayer after the Asr prayer till the sun sets." Volume 1, Book 10, number 561. Narrated by Muawiyah. You offer a prayer which I did not see being offered by Allah's Apostle when we were in his company, and he certainly had forbidden it, i.e. 2 rakat after the Asr prayer. Volume 1, Book 10, number 562. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's Apostle forbade the offering of 2 prayers, 1. After the morning prayer till the sun rises. 2. After the Asr prayer till the sun sets. Volume 1, Book 10, number 563. Narrated by Ibn Umar. I pray as I saw my companions praying. I do not forbid praying at any time during the day or night except at sunset and sunrise. Volume 1, Book 10, number 564. Narrated by Aisha. By Allah, who took away the Prophet. The Prophet never missed them, 2 rakat, after the Asr prayer till he met Allah, and he did not meet Allah till it became heavy for him to pray while standing, so he used to offer most of the prayers while sitting. She meant the 2 rakat after Asr. He used to pray them in the house and never prayed them in the mosque lest it might be hard for his followers, and he loved what was easy for them. Volume 1, Book 10, number 565. Narrated by Hisham's father. Aisha, addressing me, said, "O son of my sister, the Prophet never missed 2 prostrations, i.e. rakat, after the Asr prayer in my house." Volume 1, Book 10, number 566. Narrated by Aisha. Allah's Apostle never missed 2 rakat before the Fajr prayer and after the Asr prayer openly and secretly. Volume 1, Book 10, number 567. Narrated by Aisha. Whenever the Prophet come to me after the Asr prayer, he always prayed 2 rakat. Volume 1, Book 10, number 568. Narrated by Ibn Abu Mala. I was with Buraida on a cloudy day, and he said, "Offer the Asr prayer earlier, as the Prophet said, whoever leaves the Asr prayer will have all his good deeds annulled." See Hadith number 527 and 528. Volume 1, Book 10, number 569. Narrated by Abdullah bin Abi Qatada. My father said, one night we were traveling with the Prophet, and some people said, "We wish that Allah's Apostle would take a rest along with us during the last hours of the night." He said, "I am afraid that you will sleep and miss the Fajr prayer." Bilal said, "I will make you get up." So all slept, and Bilal rested his back against his rahila, and he too was overwhelmed by sleep, and slept. The Prophet got up when the edge of the sun had risen and said, "O Bilal, what about your statement?" He replied, "I have never slept such a sleep." The Prophet said, "Allah captured your souls when he wished, and released them when he wished. O Bilal, get up and pronounce the adhan for the prayer." The Prophet performed ablution, and when the sun came up and became bright, he stood up and prayed. Volume 1, Book 10, number 570. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. On the day of Al-Khandak, the Battle of Trench, Umar bin al-Khattab came cursing the disbelievers of Quraysh after the sun had set, and said, "O Allah's Apostle, I could not offer the Asr prayer till the sun had set." The Prophet said, "By Allah, I, too, have not prayed." So we turned towards Buthan, and the Prophet performed ablution, and we too performed ablution and offered the Asr prayer after the sun had set, and then he offered the Maghrib prayer. Volume 1, Book 10, number 571. Narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, "If anyone forgets a prayer, he should pray that prayer when he remembers it. There is no expiation except to pray the same." Then he recited, "Establish prayer for my," i.e. Allah's, remembrance. 20.14. Volume 1, Book 10, number 572. Narrated by Jabir. Umar came cursing the disbelievers of Quraysh on the day of Al-Khandak, the Battle of Trench, and said, "I could not offer the Asr prayer till the sun had set. Then we went to Buthan and he offered the Asr prayer after sunset, and then he offered the Maghrib prayer." Volume 1, Book 10, number 573. Narrated by Abu el-Minal. My father and I went to Abi Baza al-Aslami, and my father said to him, "Tell us how Allah's apostle used to offer the compulsory congregational prayers." He said, "He used to pray the Zuhr prayer, which you call the first prayer, as the sun declined at noon, the Asr at a time when one of us could go to his family at the farthest place in Medina, while the sun was still hot." The narrator forgot what Abu Baza had said about the Maghrib prayer, and the Prophet preferred to pray the Isha late and disliked to sleep before it or talk after it. And he used to return after finishing the morning prayer at such a time when it was possible for one to recognize the person sitting by his side, and he, the Prophet, used to recite 60 to 100 ayat verses of the Quran in it. Volume 1, Book 10, number 574. Narrated by Qurra bin Khalid. Once he waited for Al-Hasan and he did not show up till it was about the usual time for him to start his speech. Then he came and apologized, saying, "Our neighbors invited us." Then he added, narrated Anas, "Once we waited for the Prophet till it was midnight or about midnight. He came and led the prayer, and after finishing it, he addressed us and said, 'All the people prayed and then slept, and you have been in prayer as long as you were waiting for it.'" Al-Hasan said, "The people are regarded as performing good deeds as long as they are waiting for doing good deeds." Al-Hasan's statement is a portion of Anas's Hadith from the Prophet. Volume 1, Book 10, number 575. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. The Prophet prayed one Athelsha prayer in his last days, and after finishing it with Taslim, he stood up and said, "Do you realize the importance of this night? Nobody present on the surface of the earth tonight would be living after the completion of 100 years from this night." The people made a mistake in grasping the meaning of this statement of Allah's apostle, and they indulged in those things which are said about these narrators, i.e. some said that the day of resurrection will be established after 100 years, etc. But the Prophet said, "Nobody present on the surface of earth tonight would be living after the completion of 100 years from this night." He meant, when that century, people of that century, would pass away.